In this lesson, we'll begin to build some track lighting. Alright, so let's say we want some lighting to come along kind of the vault part of the ceiling here. So I'm going to first add an edge in here that I could use to extract the curve that we want to create, or the spline. So I'm going to go to Modify, and let's go ahead and select these edges. Alright, and let's go ahead and just run Connect, and we'll add and slide this along wherever we want those lights to be. So maybe right along there. Say OK to that. Let's go ahead and create shape from selection. And we can create a linear shape, that's fine. And that will give us a nice spline to be able to use. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the ceiling here just so we can see our spline. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this spline and center the pivot. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and scale this down a little bit. So let's say I don't want the track to go the entire span of the ceiling there. So now we can use this to create some geometry. So again, we looked at several ways to do this. I'm going to go ahead and use the sweep. And so I'll go ahead and add a sweep modifier all the way down here. And now we can select any of the built-in sections that we want to use. Alright, so we might be able to use an angle. There's a channel here that might be also something that we want to use. But maybe let's use this flange that we've got here. Okay, and we can tweak the settings for this. So we can change the length, so we make that a bit shorter. We can also change the width, so kind of bring that in. So just do something like that. Now if I turn the ceiling back on, you can see that that is kind of halfway through the ceiling, and that's kind of what I want there. Okay, so you end up with something like that, and you can actually even shorten that up a little bit more, or you could just kind of move it off. So you just get kind of a little track up there. All right. So now what we need to do is create some lights to go along this track. So to do this, I'm going to start just over here in our top view. Okay. And I'll just kind of draw this in here. And let's go ahead and create a standard primitive cylinder. So we'll go ahead and kind of draw that out. Pull up a little bit of height. Okay. And now we can go and just take a look at this. Turn the ceiling back off here. Alright. And so now let's go ahead and change our values a little bit, parameters. So we'll go ahead and dial the height up a little. Okay. I think the segments and sides are going to be okay. If you don't want to smooth this, you can bump up the sides more. If you're going to smooth it, you can maybe bump that down to 12 or so. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave that at maybe 18 or so and not worry about smoothing too much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cap segments to get some geometry there on the ends. Alright, and let's go ahead and shape this a little bit. I'm just going to use a taper to do this. So go ahead and add a taper modifier. Modify the amount here. And just get something like that. Okay. You can also change the curve so that you get something that's not so linear, which is kind of neat. You can pull that in if you want to do something like that. Alright. So let's go ahead and collapse that and convert this to an editable poly. Now let's take off the top. So let's say that this part's going to be kind of the metal, and this will be the sort of the glass part. So I'm going to go ahead and take these polygons. Okay, and let's go ahead and detach those. So we'll go down to Edit Geometry, Detach, and let's go ahead and just detach that. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and add a shell modifier to give it a little bit of thickness there. Okay, and I'll give it a little bit of thickness to the inside as well. Okay, so just something like that. And we can go ahead and collapse that. Convert to an editable poly. Now, this guy, we go ahead and select both of these, and let's go ahead and isolate them. Now I want to create the kind of the lens part, okay, or the cover. So go ahead and select basically all these polygons here. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and just grow that selection. And now let's do an inset to create the thickness here. Say OK to that. And now let's go ahead and extrude that in. Okay, go ahead and take that extrusion height down inside there. So something like that. And now let's go ahead and bevel. And this time we'll bevel it out. Okay, just a little bit. And let's increase that outline amount. So you end up with something sort of like that. And we can shrink our selection to go down to select those polygons and maybe pull those out as well. Okay, and then you get a light that kind of looks like that. And if you wanted to come in and add a smooth to that, you can do that. But if you're going to do that, you probably want to go ahead and add resolution along all of these edges. You can see if we smooth that out, everything kind of softens out. So if you want that to be nice and hard, you probably want to come in here and go ahead and select, using all the techniques that we used many times before, and just add some lines across there. Same thing up here. Go ahead and add a line down on the bottom there. Okay, just to kind of sharpen that up. If you're going to be smoothing it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just now see what that looks like. So you can see that's a lot sharper. Okay, same thing up here. If you're going to be smoothing that, you may like that soft look, but you may want to move this down a little bit. Okay, I think it actually is fine. So that is kind of the main body of our lamp. So what else do we need? Well, we need a kind of a stem that's going to come up and kind of curve around and attach to the kind of the top part of our track. So to do that, I'm going to just create a simple spline here. So I'll create a line, and I'll just kind of draw this in. So click one in here, and maybe it comes across here, and maybe up and over and down, something like that. And then I can go back in there and modify those vertices however I want to create whatever shape that it is that I want. Okay, maybe I want these to be just smooth. Maybe same thing with this, and maybe this needs to kind of move up and over here. And now we need to create some geometry along this, right? So to do that, I can simply go to Rendering, Enable, and I can get some geometry very quickly along there. And I can change the radius of that. Okay, make that a bit thinner. Okay, so you get something like that. All right, and if I want to, I can take this and actually convert this to an editable poly. And now it's actually real geometry in there that you can modify if you want to. So I'll go ahead and move this into position here. Move that over right next to that light. Okay. And we still need a pivot. So what we need to do is now create a simple cylinder. And I'll just create this wherever I want that lamp to pivot. Okay. And I'll kind of move that in position. And let's find it in here. It's actually over there on the origin there. So I'll go ahead and move this until it is kind of attaching the shape that we just created and our lamp. You can see it's a little bit too wide. So I'll go ahead and scale this down until it is kind of encompassed by that entire thing. Okay, let's go ahead and now attach these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the smoothing. Go ahead and grab this, turn off our smoothing, and let's go ahead and attach these. So we'll say attach and attach that. So now we have the main body as one piece. And so let's now move the pivot of this so that we can go in and move this lamp, and it's going to rotate around this point here. All right, so to do that, we'll go into the hierarchy panel, say Effect Pivot Only, and now we'll actually just move that pivot wherever we want it to go. So in this case, we want it to be kind of right up here, okay, right in that cylinder. And then from our other views, We want to kind of pull that over so it's right in that spot, and then we'll turn that off. And now, if we take a look at this, if we grab our piece right there, we can see that this is what we've got selected, and we now rotate it. It's now rotating around that point, which is what we want. Okay. And if that's still a little bit too big, kind of scale that down a little bit more even. All right, so do any sort of modifications you want to these type of shapes. Let's go ahead and now we're ready to place these. So let's go ahead and group these together. Say group, and we'll call this track light. Go ahead and exit isolation mode there. And now let's go ahead and move this up into position. All right. And so the way that this is oriented, it is ready to go kind of on the other side. So we can kind of just stick that in there if we want to. So something like that. And now let's say we want to clone this along. So we'll just hold down Shift, pull this out a certain distance. And then let's say we want maybe 4 or 5 copies. And that'll copy those all the way down. Okay. If we want to make it kind of resize it, or we want to change that, we can, when we scoot this down, we can make that an instance if we want to do that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of scale this guy down. And I'll change my scale here. So I'll scale this entire thing down just a little bit. Make these a little bit smaller. So get that into position, and then let's go ahead and duplicate that. Now if you want to make them all different, we'll just go ahead and make these separate copies. If you want to kind of rotate the lamp in all different directions. So kind of make 4 or 5 copies. Okay. And if we need to make another one, we can do that. Okay. We also need to add some maybe to the other side, so we'll go ahead and duplicate this over. Let's rotate it around till we get it the way that we want it. Okay. And then put it in on this side. And maybe you can kind of put it in here. So just arrange those however you want. But now what we can do is come in and let's create one more copy here. And you can copy those down as well. But now if you want to modify this this lamp here, you can go ahead and just open that, grab that lamp, rotate it around. So maybe this is rotated this way, maybe out a little bit, and then simply close the group. Come down here, open, select this guy, rotate it back that way, close it. So you can very quickly come in and modify all of these different lights. Okay, rotate that around. And you know it's rotating from the correct pivot because we've got our pivot set. Okay, and then close that. So now it's just a matter of scattering these along this track however you want to arrange those, and then going in and rotating those just a little bit. All right, so that's the kind of the track lighting. In the next lesson, let's go ahead and add a lamp. We're kind of in lighting mode right now, so let's go ahead and add a kind of a floor lamp in here for this little alcove. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.